Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. I'm really excited to explore today's expedition with you.
Me too. It's a fascinating one.
When you picture Antarctica, what comes to mind? Is it, towering icebergs, biting winds, endless white
A
landscapes?
classic image, yeah. Cold, remote, maybe penguins.
Right. Or chaps. Something a little more mysterious. Have you ever heard stories of hidden cities beneath the ice?
Or secret bases in the world's most remote, most enigmatic place.
Exactly. Because if you have, you're definitely not alone. Antarctica has, well, it's long been a blank canvas for humanity's wildest imagining.
It really has. A place where the unknown is often filled with the truly unbelievable.
And it's precisely that immense, unexplored quality that makes it so fertile ground for these kinds of narratives, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's so isolated from the rest of the world, its sheer scale, and frankly, its unforgiving nature allow for the idea that anything, no matter how fantastical, could be hidden there.
Unseen, undisturbed by the mainstream.
Yeah, exactly.
You've hit on a crucial point there. And it's that immense sense of isolation that really fuels these kinds of narratives, isn't it?
It has to be a big part of it.
So today, we are diving deep into some of the most intriguing and, let's be honest, pretty far-fetched theories about Antarctica.
We're really going there today.
We are. We're talking everything from clandestine Nazi military installations
The classic one.
and the mythical underground realm of Agartha.
Which is, wow, a whole other level.
Right. To ancient, lost civilizations and the truly wild concept of a hollow Earth.
It covers a lot of ground, these theories.
We'll explore why these tales are so compelling and, so persistent, capturing our collective imagination.
But our journey, though, it needs to be guided by some very grounded sources. We can't just talk about the theories without looking at the facts.
Absolutely not. We've been poring over discussions from online communities grappling with bad history, which is fascinating in itself.
Oh, yeah. And detailed scientific reports on real Antarctic expeditions, plus rigorous geological analyses. We need that contrast.
Precisely. Our mission today is a specific one: to meticulously examine the evidence, or maybe more importantly, the absolute lack thereof for some of these claims.
Yeah, that lack of evidence is often the key point. We want to distinguish fact from fiction.
But more importantly, we want to peel back the layers and uncover the astonishing scientific realities that do exist in Antarctica.
And trust me, these real discoveries are often far more remarkable and, well, mind-blowing than any conspiracy theory our imaginations can conjure up.
That's so often the case, isn't it? The reality is stranger, or at least more complex and interesting.
It's about appreciating the actual wonders, not just the imagined ones, and understanding the power of our own belief systems, too, how we latch onto these stories.
So with that captivating backdrop, let's turn our attention to the specific tales that have taken root in Antarctica. What are these core theories that have captured so many imaginations?
Okay, where do we start?
First up, and probably the most infamous, is the Nazis in Antarctica theory.
Yes, Base 211, New Swabia, all that stuff.
Exactly. This posits that after World War II, a significant number of Nazis, maybe even high-ranking officials, or, like some stories go, Hitler himself,
Which is a whole other can of worms.
managed to slip past Allied patrols, establish a secret military base, and even settle deep within the icy continent.
It sounds like something straight out of a pulp novel, doesn't it? Or an old movie serial.
It absolutely does, like a secret lair from a Bond film.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe Captain America.
Right, and often deeply intertwined with these Nazi claims is the even more fringe Agartha and the hollow earth theory.
Okay, so this connects.
Often, yeah. This one suggests that the earth isn't solid, but either literally hollow or contains massive hidden underground caverns.
Inside the Earth.
Yeah, rich with resources, fresh water, maybe even lush vegetation, perhaps an inner sun. It gets pretty elaborate.
Wow.
And the narrative goes that these hidden realms are accessible only through the Earth's poles.
So Antarctica.
Becomes a prime candidate for a secret entry point. So the theory goes, the Nazis weren't just escaping to a base on Antarctica, but potentially into it, accessing this mythical inner world of Agartha.
Wow. So not just hiding in the ice, but potentially under it, into another world entirely. That's ambitious.
It's layers upon layers of conspiracy, really.
And these theories, wild as they sound, they aren't entirely pulled out of thin air. at least in terms of their initial spark, are they?
Well, no, they often piggyback on the historical fact of genuine German expeditions to Antarctica in the late 1930s.
Right, the New Swabia expedition, we mentioned that.
Exactly. This small historical kernel provides just enough real-world context for the more fantastical elements to latch onto and grow. It gives it a veneer of plausibility, I suppose.
A tiny seed of truth that sprouts into.
Yeah.
Well, this.
Pretty much. What's truly fascinating here, though, is why these theories captivate us so strongly.
Yeah, what's the appeal?
You have to acknowledge the immense creativity, or as some might call it, the sheer wackiness of these ideas.
They're certainly imaginative.
They are inherently entertaining, they make for great stories, and that's undeniable. There's a thrill in the idea of a hidden truth, a secret history that the official narrative is somehow concealing.
It taps into that distrust, maybe.
Yeah.
That feeling that we're not being told everything.
I think that's a huge part of it. And it's true, their reach extends far beyond niche online communities.
Well, yeah, you see them popping up in surprising places, like mentions on the History Channel, which, for better or worse, has certainly given a platform to some pretty out there ideas over the years.
Chuckles. Yeah, that's putting it mildly sometimes. And they definitely thrive on platforms like 4chan and Reddit.
Oh, absolutely. Where these narratives are dissected, elaborated upon, maybe even celebrated,
Well,
often becoming a shared cultural touchstone for certain online communities.
and this really taps into a deep human fascination with hidden worlds, doesn't it? With advanced secret technologies like alleged UFO-like aircraft
The Nazi UFOs, yeah, that's a big one.
that some theories claim the Nazis possessed. And the appealing idea of escaping global conflict into an untouched, pristine sanctuary.
A secret paradise, almost.
Kind of. The allure of the unknown, combined with a touch of forbidden knowledge, secret power, and the idea of a shadowy, powerful elite pulling strings. It creates a potent cocktail for myth-making that's hard for many to resist.
It's a compelling drama playing out in our collective imagination. A really good story, even if, well, not true.
Precisely.
So let's take these compelling stories and put them under the microscope. It's time to start the serious debunking.
Okay, let's get into it.
We're going to start with a Nazi Antarctic-based theory, focusing on the implausibility of U-boat travel to such a secret location.
Right, the supposed method of transport.
The strongest piece of evidence, and I'm using air quotes here, cited by many theorists, is a supposed document from KGB archives.
Ah, the secret document trope, always compelling.
It is. This document allegedly provides intricate instructions for U-boat operators to reach Agartha, the inner Earth.
So a literal map to the hollow Earth, supposedly. It's apparently pretty specific, detailing how submarines must operate at a given depth of 500 meters.
500 meters.
And even mentions an elusive A-class flotilla of the Führer.
An A-class flotilla. Never heard of it.
That certainly sounds like a compelling piece of evidence, doesn't it? Especially coming from a supposedly secretive source like KGB archives. But what happens when we put these instructions under a technical microscope?
Well, this is where it really starts to fall apart, honestly. If we connect this to the broader picture of naval capabilities during WWII, the claims immediately encounter significant, almost insurmountable obstacles.
Like what?
First, the very existence of a specific A-class submarine flotilla for the Führer. It's completely unknown, unsubstantiated in any historical naval records anywhere.
So it's just made up.
Seems like it.
Yes.
It's a red flag right away.
Yeah.
It's an unsupported claim that forms the foundation of the rest of the theory.
Okay, so the special fleet probably didn't exist. But what about the depth?
Yeah.
500 meters. Yeah, and it gets far more problematic than just an unknown fleet. The document requires submarines to operate at a depth of 500 meters.
Which is deep, really deep.
Extremely deep. But here's the crucial technological gap, a stark reality of engineering limitations. No German U-boat from WWII would have been able to reach an operational depth of 500 meters, period.
None of them.
No. The most common Type 7 U-boat, for instance, the workhorse of the fleet, had an operating depth of only 220 meters.
Okay, 220, not 500.
Not even close. And its crush depth, the point where the submarine's hull would just buckle and collapse under the immense water pressure,
Yeah,
was just over 280 meters.
still nowhere near 500.
Exactly. This means the required depth for reaching Agartha exceeds their capability by more than 100%. That's not just a little off, it's a colossal difference.
The kind of difference that would turn a submarine into, well, a very expensive, very flattened sardine can.
Chuckles. Pretty much.
Ah.
To put that into even further perspective, even modern state-of-the-art submarines typically have crush depths around 400 meters.
Still short.
still falling short of the required 500 meters. So the idea of a WWII U-boat performing such a feat is physically impossible given the materials and technology of the era. It just couldn't handle the pressure.
And were there other issues, like for the crew?
Absolutely. There are significant crew safety concerns. A German manual from that period actually indicated that no trials were performed for staying at depths of 100 meters or deeper.
Really? Only 100 meters?
Yeah, and it advised keeping time shorter at such depths due to the harmful effects of high-grade oxygen mixtures needed for the crew to breathe under pressure.
So even going moderately deep was risky and not well tested.
Precisely. This clearly suggests that operating at 500 meters with the technology available then was not just dangerous, but effectively impossible for any sustained period, let alone navigating complex passages to find a secret polar entrance.
Okay, so the U-boats couldn't physically make the dive. That seems like a pretty big hole in the theory.
A crushing one, you might say.
Yeah, chuckles. Okay. But let's say, purely hypothetically, just for argument's sake, a U-boat somehow defies physics and the laws of naval engineering and reaches that impossible depth.
A magic U-boat. Okay.
The challenges don't end there, do they?
Yeah.
What about the surface conditions, the very real dangers of wartime Antarctica?
Right, because even if a magic U-boat could somehow withstand the pressure, it still had to get there. And it had to overcome the Allied patrols and the unforgiving icy waters.
Were there Allied patrols around Antarctica during the war?
Oh, absolutely. During wartime, there was a significant Allied naval presence. Operation Tabarin, for example, launched by the British in 1943,
Okay.
was specifically designed for submarine hunting and patrolling the Antarctic from German commerce raiders and U-boats.
So they were actively looking for German subs down there.
Yes, and this operation lasted until 1946. It essentially kept Antarctica on lockdown, making any clandestine approach extremely difficult, if not impossible.
I see. But some German U-boats did manage to escape after the war, didn't they? Like to South America.
That's true. While some German U-boats like U-530 and U-977 did manage to evade Allied patrols in other theaters and reach places like Argentina after the war.
Right.
Doing so to reach Antarctica would have been an additional difficulty on top of the already insurmountable depth challenge, the sheer distance involved, the immense logistical demands of resupply, the harsh weather, and the constant threat of Allied forces made this a monumental, near-impossible task.
Even for the most seasoned U-boat commanders.
Especially for them, they'd know the risks.
And then there's the ice. That must have been a huge factor.
Whoa, enormous. Navigating ice-covered waters, especially for a submarine not designed for it, is an immense challenge. You might remember the U.S. Navy's Operation High Jump, which we'll definitely discuss more later.
Yeah, the big post-war expedition.
That operation, which was massive and well-equipped, required plenty of icebreakers just to get through the pack ice.
Even with specialized ships.
Exactly. And even modern purpose-built U.S. submarines, like the USS Senate, which was part of High Jump, got caught and damaged by ice. It actually needed rescuing, as documented in the film The Secret Land.
Wow. So even the U.S. Navy had trouble with the ice after the war.
They did. German U-boats, optimized for Atlantic warfare, hiding from destroyers, simply weren't designed for that kind of polar navigation, breaking through or diving under thick sea ice.
Okay, so if we put it all together.
If we look at the combined factors, the absolute U-boat limitations in terms of operational depth, the active and dedicated Allied patrols guarding the region, and the severe, unavoidable ice conditions that even modern vessels struggle with.
Yeah.
The conclusion is unequivocally clear. Reaching any supposed Nazi base or the mythical Agartha was nigh impossible for the German Navy during WWII.
The evidence just doesn't support the claims.
Not at all. Instead, it provides a stark lesson in how readily a captivating narrative can override basic scientific and historical facts. People want to believe the exciting story.
Okay, so the U-boat angle is pretty much sunk. Now, as we delve deeper into the logistical impossibilities, this aspect becomes particularly compelling. Let's talk about the actual German expedition that forms the historical seed of these theories.
Right, the 1938-1939 German Antarctic expedition to New Swabia. The real thing.
The real thing. Officially, this expedition was launched to help establish a whaling station.
Yeah, to secure more fat reserves for Germany, which is a very real economic need for things like margarine and industrial lubricants at the time. Totally plausible goal.
And they even conducted aerial reconnaissance, right? With planes launched from a catapult ship.
They did. They mapped a part of the coast, confirmed much of the northern coast was an ice cliff. Standard exploration stuff for the era.
But the conspiracy narrative, of course, says something different.
Of course. It insists that the stated purpose, the whaling station, was merely a sophisticated cover-up.
Distraction.
Exactly, a cover for the real intention, to set up a secret military base deep in the ice.
But if we truly analyze the logistics and the capabilities of that specific expedition, does that hold water?
This claim quickly falls apart under scrutiny. You just have to look at what they actually had and what they did.
You can't build a secret fortress with thin air and good intentions, can you?
Jackals, no, you really can't. There's a study titled Hitler's Antarctic Base, The Myth and the Reality by Colin Summerhays and Peter Beeching. They looked into this in detail.
And what did they find?
Their findings are quite revealing. The flying boats used for reconnaissance, these Dornier Wall flying boats, while innovative for their time, were not suited for landing on solid surfaces like the ice sheet. They were seaplanes.
Okay, so they couldn't land easily.
And crucially, they could carry 10 people at best for short flights. Just 10 people.
That doesn't sound like enough to build a base.
Not even close. This immediately makes the idea of them transporting the necessary supplies to construct a military base, let alone a huge underground one, highly improbable. We're talking building materials, heavy equipment, food, fuel, personnel.
10 people in a small seaplane just don't cut it.
Not even remotely. Indeed, German reports from the expedition itself paint a very different picture of activity.
What do the actual reports say?
They indicate that very few people actually walked on the surface of Antarctica.
Really? Very few.
Yeah, and even then lasting only one day at maximum, just short trips ashore near the coast.
That isn't the kind of sustained, heavy activity you'd expect for a massive construction project, is it?
Absolutely not, especially one designed to be a permanent hidden military base. You'd need teams working for weeks, months.
And is there any record of construction materials?
That's the other thing. There is absolutely no documentation of the construction of even a hut during the expedition.
Not even a hut.
Nope. Nor are there any records of any building material being brought or any specialized equipment required for digging into ice or rock or anything like that. Nothing.
To really drive this home, let's compare this to what was actually needed to build even relatively simple research bases later on, say, in the 1950s.
Right, which was still an extremely challenging undertaking even then, with better technology.
What did those later bases require?
You needed specialized sled dogs or motorized equipment like tractors or snowcats for transport across the ice. Extensive planning, huge amounts of resources, fuel depots, and large teams of personnel just to move everything and build basic structures.
And the 1938-1939 German expedition
Simply did not have anything close to that level of logistical capability, equipment, or manpower for such an undertaking. They had one ship, 2 small planes, and limited time.
So what does this all mean for the conspiracy about this secret base built during that expedition?
It means the historical German reports directly and irrefutably contradict the notion that the expedition was used to construct an underground military base.
The resources weren't there.
The sustained activity wasn't there.
The documentation isn't there.
And the evidence is simply non-existent. It was an exploratory mission with a stated economic purpose, maybe some territorial claim planting with those flags they dropped, not a secret construction project.
It's another powerful reminder that while a story might be thrilling, it needs to stand up to the cold, hard facts of reality and historical records.
Exactly right. The mundane truth is often less exciting, but, well, it's the truth.
Now that we've thoroughly debunked the Nazi base claims and the U-boat impossibilities, let's pivot. Let's talk about another cornerstone of these Antarctic mysteries, Operation High Jump.
High Jump, 1946-47, the big one.
And the often misrepresented accounts of Admiral Byrd. This operation is often at the very heart of many Antarctic conspiracies.
It really is. It gets cited constantly.
Officially titled the United States Navy Antarctic Developments Program, 1946-1947, Operation High Jump was a truly massive USN undertaking.
Massive is the right word, led by Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd Jr., a huge Antarctic figure already.
It consisted of an incredible 4,700 men.
Almost 5,000 people.
13 ships, including icebreakers and even a submarine, the USS Senate we mentioned,
Right.
and 33 aircraft. Its primary stated goal was to establish the Antarctic research base, Little America 3F.
A huge logistical operation just for that. And the official goals were quite clear, logical, and ambitious for a post-war military.
What were those stated goals?
There were 6 distinct objectives laid out. 1, training personnel and testing equipment in frigid conditions. practical military stuff.
Makes sense.
2, consolidating and extending U.S. sovereignty claims. Although they publicly denied this was a goal before the expedition ended, it was definitely an underlying strategic interest. Planting flags, mapping territory.
Geopolitical angle.
3, determining the feasibility of establishing and maintaining Antarctic bases long term. 4, developing techniques for building and maintaining air bases on ice, possibly thinking about Greenland or other Arctic regions too.
Strategic foresight there.
5, amplifying scientific knowledge across a whole range of fields: electromagnetic, geological, geographic, hydrographic, meteorological conditions, pure science.
So a really comprehensive strategic and scientific endeavor.
Absolutely. A major undertaking with clear documented goals.
So a lot of very practical, scientific, and strategic objectives. The operation commenced on August 26, 1946, and importantly, it ended in late February 1947.
Yeah, it was cut short.
Why?
Officially, incredibly, due to the early approach of winter and worsening weather conditions. Antarctica dictates the schedule, basically.
And this timing, the early end, is a crucial, undeniable detail when you compare it to the conspiracy narrative, right?
That's right. Because the conspiracy claim is a far more dramatic narrative.
What's the story they tell?
That Operation High Jump was actually a failed assault on a Nazi base.
An attack.
Yes, and its premature cancellation wasn't due to weather, but attributed to unknown attackers, or more sensationally, encounters with advanced Nazi UFO-like aircraft firing energy beams or something.
Seriously, Nazi UFOs defeated the U.S. Navy.
That's the story. This theory has been so persistent that it's even led to vandalism on Wikipedia articles, people trying to aggressively insert these false narratives as fact.
Wow. It speaks to the power of a story, even when contradicted by overwhelming evidence.
It really does.
But the reality of why it ended early and what happened, it's far less dramatic, though still tragic in parts, isn't it?
It is. The operation did experience casualties, unfortunately.
But not from fighting Nazis.
No, not at all. These were due to accidents inherent in such a dangerous environment. There was a fatal plane crash, and a man was killed during a ship unloading accident, caught between the ship and the ice. Tragic, but accidents.
Can you tell us more about the plane crash? That sounds like something that could be twisted into a battle story.
Easily. But one survivor recounted it in vivid detail. They were flying a Martin PBM Mariner flying boat called George 1. They were flying in a blizzard, basically whiteout conditions.
Okay, already dangerous.
And the plane was heavily laden with an unusually heavy amount of fuel for a long reconnaissance flight. It struggled to gain altitude, barely reaching 800 feet. Then disaster struck. It hit something, maybe a sastrugi ridge hidden in the snow, or just succumbed to the conditions, torn a hole in the hull, and crashed.
And the fuel.
That led to an explosion and fire of 1,345 gallons of 145-octane aviation fuel. 3 men died instantly, but miraculously. 6 survived in the wreckage for nearly 2 weeks before rescue.
Horrifying. But a clear accident.
A clear, tragic accident, a consequence of the incredibly challenging and dangerous conditions of operating in Antarctica. Not a battle with secret adversaries. It's easy to imagine a dramatic shootout, but the actual truth, while tragic, is a far more mundane yet equally dangerous reality of operating in extreme environments.
Sometimes the most compelling story isn't the one of secret Nazi tech, but the sheer brutal challenge of nature itself.
Absolutely. Nature is often the biggest adversary down there.
This also brings us to an important recontextualization of Admiral Byrd himself. He's frequently cited by conspiracy theorists, isn't he?
Constantly. As confirming the existence of a hollow Earth or having encountered Nazi aircraft during High Jump, he's like the star witness for the prosecution, in their view.
But we need to look at his famous warning in its proper historical and strategic context.
Exactly. In an exclusive interview with Lee Van Atta of International News Service in Santiago, Chile, right after High Jump in March 1947, Byrd stated something that gets quoted a lot.
What's the quote?
Admiral Richard E. Byrd warned today that the United States should adopt measures of protection against the possibility of an invasion of the country by hostile planes coming from the polar regions.
Okay, hearing that cold, it sounds pretty dramatic. Invasion, hostile planes, polar regions. Guess, yeah, that gets twisted.
It does sound alarming on its own, especially coming from a figure as revered as Admiral Byrd. It certainly sounds like it could be interpreted as a warning against something clandestine hidden at the pole.
But what was the real context?
The true meaning is far more pragmatic and rooted in evolving post-WWII geopolitical realities. This is 1947. The Cold War is just beginning. Long-range bombers are now a reality.
The dawn of the air age and global reach.
Precisely. He clarified in the same interview that he wasn't trying to scare anyone, but was acknowledging the cruel reality that in a new war, the U.S. mainland could potentially be attacked via the poles. The shortest route between, say, North America and Eurasia is over the Arctic.
So he was talking about strategic bombing routes.
Yes. His remarks were a strategic assessment about the diminishing isolation of the U.S. due to the fantastic speed with which the world is shrinking, thanks to aviation. He was talking about the potential for future intercontinental aerial attacks from conventional enemies, like the Soviet Union, using new polar air routes.
So not secret Nazi bases in Antarctica or UFOs from the Hollow Earth.
Absolutely not. It was a sober military analysis of future threats in the dawning atomic age, not a sensational revelation about hidden Antarctic secrets.
Well, that makes so much more sense in the context of 1947. And then there's the pervasive Hollow Earth diary myth, often attributed to Byrd.
Ah, yes, the secret diary.
Theorists frequently claim Byrd's personal diary, or his autobiography alone, confirmed the existence of a continent as big as the United States inside the Earth, with its own flora and vegetation, maybe dinosaurs, or even openings to the Earth's interior.
It would be quite a discovery to keep under wraps, the biggest secret in human history, supposedly tucked away in his diary.
But historical investigation tells a very different story, doesn't it?
Completely different. Historians who have thoroughly searched Byrd's papers, his extensive archives at Ohio State University, including his diaries and autobiography drafts.
What do they find?
They have found no actual evidence whatsoever to support these claims. Nothing. Zilch.
So the entries just aren't there.
They are not there. And the idea that such entries were there but were covered up or removed by shadowy government agents, well, that's also entirely unsupported by any credible source or archival methodology. It's just an ad hoc explanation for the lack of evidence.
Classic conspiracy tactic. The evidence is missing because they hid it.
Exactly. These are just stories that have been retroactively attached to a prominent, respected figure like Byrd to lend them credibility.
So where did the idea of him finding a huge new landmass come from? Did he say anything like that?
It's far more likely that Byrd's statements about a vast continent referred to the expansive Antarctic landmass itself, which is huge and was still largely unexplored.
Or maybe his own Little America exploration base established back in 1929.
Possibly. Or just the general scale of Antarctica. Remember, Operation High Jump's own documentary described Antarctica as being larger than the United States.
So he was just describing the continent.
Most likely. That aligns perfectly with what Byrd was actually reporting, the sheer scale of the continent itself, which was a major finding and focus of his work. He wasn't talking about a hidden interior world.
Is there official confirmation from the archives about this?
Yes. Raymond E. Gerler, who worked directly with the Byrd archives for years, explicitly states, while researchers have occasionally asked for documentation from Byrd's papers about his discovery of the Hollow Earth, nothing has been found.
Nothing found.
He also notes that, interestingly, so far, none of the queries have been from producers of documentaries or docudramas looking to substantiate these claims with actual archival footage or documents. Which speaks volumes, really. If there was anything there, you'd think documentary makers would be all over it.
So the notion is simply not there in his extensive records.
Correct. The conspiracies exist in the realm of imagination, speculation, maybe forged documents circulated online, but not in Byrd's historical documentation.
Okay, so Admiral Byrd didn't find the Hollow Earth. But it's clear that the idea of a Hollow Earth has an incredibly persistent allure rooted deeply in our history and imagination.
Oh, absolutely. It goes way back.
But before we get into the science of why it's impossible, let's quickly touch on the history of this idea. It wasn't just a modern conspiracy thing, was it?
Not at all. The Hollow Earth concept is ancient, deeply woven into human culture. It appears in various mythologies.
Like what?
You have the ancient Greeks with their belief in caverns leading to the underworld, like Tartarus. Places like Tainaran or Trozen were thought to be entrances.
Okay.
Thracian and Dacian legends mention caverns occupied by the god Zalmoxis. Mesopotamian religion has a story of a subterranean garden accessed through a mountain tunnel. Irish myths talk about tunnels and hills leading to a subterranean world.
Wow, it's everywhere.
Pretty much. Trobriand islanders believed their ancestors came from a subterranean land via a cavern hole called Obucula. Mexican folklore has tales of devilish creatures coming from inside the earth through a cave near Ojinaga.
Even medieval legends?
Yep. Medieval German and Russian legends feature mountains as portals. There's a Siberian tribal legend, the Samoyeds, about traveling to an inner earth cavern city.
And Dante, you mentioned Dante.
Right, Dante Alighieri's 14th century Inferno. It famously describes a hollow earth created by Lucifer's fall from heaven, which formed a giant funnel leading down to hell at the center and also pushed up the mountain of purgatory on the other side. A very influential image.
So it was mythological, religious, folkloric. But did it ever become sort of scientific or pseudoscientific?
It did transition. In the early modern period, you get scientific speculations. In 1692, the renowned astronomer Edmund Halley,
Halley of Halley's Comet.
the very same, he proposed a hollow Earth with concentric shells inside, each with its own magnetic poles and rotating at different speeds.
Why?
He was trying to explain anomalous compass readings, why the magnetic poles seemed to shift. He even speculated about a luminous, possibly inhabited interior and linked the light escaping from the poles to the aurora borealis.
That's amazing coming from Halley.
It shows how people were trying to make sense of the world with limited data. Later in the 19th century, you get John Cleves Sims, Jr.,
Who was he?
a prominent American proponent. In 1818, he suggested Earth was a hollow shell about 1,300 kilometers thick, with huge openings, maybe 2,300 kilometers wide, at both the North and South poles. He even thought there were 4 inner nested shells.
And he actually campaigned for this.
Oh, yeah. He actively campaigned for an expedition to the North Pole to find the opening and go inside. One of his followers, J.N. Reynolds, gave lectures and agitated for an expedition, even going to Antarctica himself on a sealing vessel, though he missed a larger U.S. exploring venture later.
So it was a serious proposal for a while.
It captured the public imagination, and it continued into the 20th century, influencing books like William Reed's Phantom of the Poles in 1906 and Marshall Gardner's A Journey to the Earth's Interior in 1913. Gardner even thought there was an inner sun and got a patent for a working model of his hollow Earth theory.
A patent.
Seriously.
And of course, it heavily influenced fiction, most famously Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth from 1864. But it pops up constantly, even today, in things like the MonsterVerse films with Godzilla and Kong, or Marvel Comics Subterranea. It's cemented in popular imagination.
Any other notable proponents? Well, there were spiritualist writers like Walburga, Lady Paget. Some 20th century German writers explored it, like Peter Bender. And there are even unsubstantiated rumors linking Hitler himself to concave hollow Earth ideas, though that's likely just more myth-making.
Okay, so a long and weird history. But let's switch back to Antarctica specifically. What about the claims of ancient civilizations under the Antarctic ice? This connects to the hollow Earth sometimes, but also stands alone.
Right, the idea that maybe not Agartha, but just a lost, advanced human civilization existed there before the ice came.
Discover magazine has looked into this, right? What's the main piece of evidence people point to?
Often it comes back to maps again, specifically the Piri Reis map.
Ah, the Piri Reis map, drawn in 1513 by an Ottoman sailor. We hear about this one a lot in ancient astronaut circles, too.
We do. The claim here regarding Antarctica is that the map accurately depicts not just a South American coastline, but also a landmass resembling Antarctica without ice, suggesting ancient advanced civilizations had mapped it before it froze over millions of years ago, and that knowledge was somehow passed down through secret channels for millennia until Piri Reis got hold of a fragment of it.
Okay, that sounds unlikely. What's the reality?
The reality, as scientists and cartographic historians have determined, is that this supposed Antarctica on the map was likely hypothetical.
Hypothetical.
Yeah. For centuries, going back to the ancient Greeks even, there was a common belief among geographers and cartographers that a large southern continent must exist. Terra Australis Incognita, the unknown southern land.
Why did they think it must exist?
To geographically balance the known land masses in the northern hemisphere. It was a philosophical and theoretical requirement for a balanced Earth. So mapmakers often included a large, vague land mass at the bottom of the world.
So the depiction on the Piri Reis map is just
mere coincidence. An educated guess based on the prevailing theory of the time, maybe incorporating some rumors or distorted reports from sailors who'd been blown south. It's not evidence of lost ancient knowledge of an ice-free Antarctica.
And the geological timeline here is pretty damning too, isn't it?
Absolutely. It demolishes the idea of humans mapping an ice-free Antarctica. Ice core research and geological studies definitively show that Antarctica was last substantially free of ice about 15 million years ago, maybe even longer, like 34 million years ago for the main ice sheet formation.
15 million years.
Yeah. Now compare that to human evolution. Homo sapiens, our species, has only been walking the Earth for maybe 300,000 years. Our ancestors, early hominins, go back a few million years, but certainly not 15 million, and they weren't building advanced civilizations or sailing the globe mapping continents.
So the idea of an ancient human civilization mapping an ice-free Antarctica is not just improbable.
It's chronologically impossible. It's like suggesting dinosaurs built the pyramids. The timeline simply laughs at the notion.
Okay, so the Piri Reis map is out. What other evidence is claimed for ancient Antarctic civilizations?
Well, then we get into the pyramid theories and satellite anomalies.
Pyramids in Antarctica?
Yeah. Some theories point to anomalies in satellite imagery of Antarctica, things that look vaguely pyramid-shaped or like other artificial structures buried under the ice. They claim these are evidence of lost civilizations.
And what do scientists say about these shapes?
Experts explain these are likely to be explained by geological processes. Antarctica has mountains, just like any other continent. Some mountains, due to erosion, particularly glacial erosion, can naturally form pyramid-like shapes called nunataks, or pyramidal peaks. Think the Matterhorn, but maybe buried mostly in ice.
So natural rock formations peeking through the ice.
Exactly. Or sometimes subglacial lakes or unusual ice formations can create odd radar signatures. Deep penetrating radar, which is a crucial tool for actually studying the subglacial environment, has not uncovered any proof whatsoever of ancient human activity or artificial structures.
Our brains are just incredibly good at finding patterns, aren't they? Seeing faces in clouds, pyramids in mountains.
Especially when fueled by a desire for a hidden truth, a lost golden age. Pareidolia strikes again.
It seems that our human tendency to see patterns in natural formations, combined with the desire for hidden histories, often leads to these conclusions. And what about vague antique anecdotes?
Ah, yes, the appeal to ancient texts.
These are sometimes presented as evidence that people centuries ago knew about an Atlantis-like continent in Antarctica. Right. References in historical testimonies or records to territories that lie beyond the explored world.
But these stories are often vague and all too typically lack any empirical basis. They're myths, legends, rumors.
And they could be referring to anywhere, really.
They could just as easily have referred to Australia or Oceania or South America or just mythical lands entirely. Most scientists and historians feel comfortable dismissing this evidence as pure conjecture. It's important to apply critical thinking here and not mistake speculation or ancient myths for empirical proof.
Okay, so ancient civilizations, Hollow Earth. Lots of compelling stories, but not backed by science or history. Let's turn to the hard science now. How do we know the Earth isn't hollow? What does rigorous modern Earth science actually tell us about the planet's interior?
Right, let's put the final nail in the coffin of the hollow Earth idea scientifically. There are several compelling lines of evidence that simply make a hollow Earth impossible.
That was the first one.
First, Earth's density, its overall mass and density. Modern measurements, which build on Henry Cavendish's pioneering work way back in 1798, where he first weighed the Earth,
Right.
show the Earth's average density is about 5.515 grams per cubic centimeter. That's 5.5 times denser than water.
Okay. And how does that compare to surface rocks?
That's the key. The rocks we find on the surface, the crustal rocks, average only about 2.75 GC meters, much less dense.
So for the average to be 5.5?
The interior must contain much, much denser material. For the Earth to have its observed gravitational force and this high average density, its core has to be made of something incredibly dense, like a nickel-iron alloy, which models suggest is around 10 to 13 GC meters down there under immense pressure.
So a hollow interior filled with air or even water in some caverns.
Would result in a dramatically lower average density. It simply wouldn't add up to the 5.5 GC meter we measure. It directly contradicts what we observe about Earth's mass and gravity.
That makes perfect sense. It's fundamental physics. If it were hollow, it would literally weigh less and have a completely different gravitational pull than we measure.
Exactly. The very mass of the Earth demands a solid, dense interior.
Okay, density is one big piece of evidence. What else?
Second, we have seismic evidence. And this is probably the most direct refutation, our best window into the deep Earth.
How does that work? Seismic waves from earthquakes.
Precisely. The study of seismic waves, the energy released by earthquakes, travels through and around the Earth, provides a direct picture of its internal structure. It's much like an ultrasound or a CAT scan for the planet.
And what does this planetary ultrasound show us?
It confirms, beyond any reasonable doubt, that the Earth is not hollow. Seismic data clearly shows distinct layers, with different properties.
What layers?
A solid, rocky crust floating on a much thicker, mostly solid but slowly flowing mantle. Below that, a liquid nickel-iron outer core. And right at the center, a solid nickel-iron inner core, solid despite the heat because of the immense pressure.
And the waves tell us this how?
The travel times and the behavior of different types of seismic waves, P waves and S waves, how they speed up, slow down, reflect, or refract, bend when they hit boundaries between these layers, and the fact that S waves, which can't travel through liquid, don't pass through the outer core, all this directly contradicts a fully hollow sphere. There's simply no space in the seismic model for a vast hollow agartha or massive caverns. The data fits a layered, mostly solid Earth perfectly.
That's a powerful analogy, an ultrasound for the planet. Pretty definitive. Is there anything else?
Yes. And finally, there's the very process of planetary formation and the sheer power of gravity itself.
How does gravity argue against a hollow Earth?
The fundamental laws of gravity dictate that massive objects, like planets, tend to clump together gravitationally during formation. Gravity pulls everything towards the center of mass. This naturally forms solid, non-hollow spherical objects like planets and stars. Think about it. Gravity pulls everything inwards.
So a hollow structure would be unstable.
Extremely unstable. A hollow planet would simply collapse in on itself. Ordinary matter, rock, and metal just isn't strong enough to support the roof of such an immense hollow structure against the crushing force of its own gravity, trying to pull it all down to the center.
So a solid sphere is the most stable configuration.
A solid spheroid is the most stable, lowest gravitational potential energy shape for something of Earth's mass and size.
What about drilling? Haven't we drilled deep holes? Do they tell us anything?
Well, yes and no. The deepest hole ever drilled by humans is the Kola super deep borehole in Russia. It reached about 12.2 kilometers, or about 7.6 miles down.
That sounds incredibly deep.
It is, for us. It's minuscule compared to the Earth's radius of nearly 6,400 kilometers. It's barely scratching the surface, less than 0.2% of the way to the center.
So it doesn't disprove deep hollowness directly?
Not directly from drilling, no. But it vividly illustrates the vast depths we still cannot directly observe. However, everything we did find in the Kola borehole, like increasing temperature and pressure, aligns perfectly with the models derived from seismic data. And as I said, that seismic data is overwhelmingly indicative of a solid, layered interior.
So while the hollow Earth is a captivating story, woven through history and myth,
it's entirely inconsistent with multiple lines of observed scientific reality. Density, seismic data, and fundamental physics of gravity and planetary formation. It's firmly in the realm of fiction.
Okay, so we've spent a lot of time debunking the myths. The Nazi bases, the impossible U-boats, the misinterpretations of Bird, the hollow Earth, ancient civilizations.
Hearing the ground, so to speak.
Exactly. Because while all that stuff is pure fantasy, Antarctica holds real secrets that are arguably far more astounding and scientifically significant.
This is where the real intrigue lies, I think, as we shift our focus from the imagined to the truly incredible.
Let's talk about the real Antarctic wonderland, subglacial Lake Vostok.
Ah, Vostok, yes.
Imagine a world completely cut off from the surface for potentially millions of years, tucked away beneath miles of solid ice. That's Lake Vostok. It's real.
And the discovery of this hidden world is a fantastic story in itself, a testament to scientific ingenuity and perseverance. It wasn't obvious at first.
How was it found?
In the early 1990s, scientists using satellite altimetry bouncing radar off the ice surface from space to measure its height very precisely noticed something odd.
What was it?
A remarkably flat, smooth, subhorizontal ice plain stretching for hundreds of kilometers north of the Russian Vostok station, which is located near the South Geomagnetic Pole, one of the coldest places on Earth.
Flatness suggested liquid water underneath.
Exactly. Liquid water would create a perfectly level surface for the overlying ice to rest on, smoothing it out compared to areas where the ice sits directly on uneven bedrock. This unusual flatness strongly suggested the presence of a large body of liquid water underneath.
Who put the pieces together?
It was the Russian geographer and glaciologist Dr. A.P. Kapitsa who, synthesizing earlier seismic work and the new altimetry data, officially reported the existence of this large, deep, freshwater lake beneath the ice to the Scientific Committee on Antarctic Research, SCAR, back in 1994.
And he proposed the name.
Yes, proposing its evocative name. Lake Vostok, after the nearby station, which itself was named after the ship of the Russian explorer Bellingshausen, who first sighted Antarctica.
And how was its existence confirmed beyond doubt?
Through extensive follow-up work using airborne ice-penetrating radar and seismic surveys, bouncing sound waves through the ice to map the hidden landscape beneath, this work by Russian, British, and American teams confirmed its existence definitively in 1996.
What's fascinating is that it's not alone down there, is it?
No. Since Vostok's discovery, nearly 200, maybe even more now, similar subglacial water bodies, lakes, rivers, wetlands have been discovered across Antarctica using these techniques. A whole hidden hydrosphere.
But Vostok is special.
Vostok remains not only the biggest discovered so far by a large margin, but also the most studied lake in Antarctica. It truly is a unique natural marvel.
So just how big is it? What are its characteristics?
What's truly remarkable here are Lake Vostok's characteristics. It's immense in size. It boasts a coastline estimated at 1,030 kilometers.
1,000 kilometers of coastline under the ice.
Yeah, including about 70 kilometers worth of islands poking up from the lakebed, but still covered by the ice sheet. The total water surface area is around 15.5 thousand square kilometers.
That's huge. Comparable to Lake Ontario, maybe.
Roughly, yes. Comparable in area to Lake Ontario. And it's deep, too. The water layer averages about 410 meters in thickness,
That's deep.
holding an estimated volume of about 6,343 cubic kilometers of fresh water.
That's like a small ocean, completely hidden. A truly staggering amount of water.
Yeah.
And it's not just a simple basin of water, is it? You mentioned it has a complex geological story.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just a puddle melted at the base of the ice sheet. It has a very complex ancient structure. Geographically, the lake is generally divided into two main parts or basins.
What are they like?
There's a deeper southern section, roughly 70 by 30 kilometers, where the water can be up to 800 meters thick, and then a shallower, much larger northern section, around 180 by 60 kilometers, where the water averages about 300 meters thick.
And what about the landscape under the water?
The lake sits within a deep trench, about 310 by 100 kilometers overall, characterized by steep bedrock slopes, over 15 degrees in places, that can rise more than 1,500 meters from the lake floor to the surrounding subglacial highlands.
That sounds dramatic. What does that geology tell us?
This geomorphology strongly suggests a tectonic genesis. It indicates the lake basin formed along a deep-seated fault system.
Like a rift valley.
Exactly. As part of a larger inland rift zone, potentially comparable to Earth's most dramatic continental rift features like East Africa's Great Rift Valley, or Lake Baikal in Siberia, which is the world's deepest lake, and also sits in a rift valley.
So Vostok might be sitting in an ancient, inactive rift valley buried under the ice.
That's the leading theory. Gravimetric data measuring subtle variations in gravity further supports this, indicating a basement submergence, a dropping of the bedrock of 3 to 5 kilometers. Immense geological forces have shaped this hidden place over millions of years.
So it's not just sitting in a simple depression. It's a profound geological feature in its own right, shaped by the very movement of the Earth's crust. And the isolation of this lake. That's key, right?
Absolutely key. Its isolation is truly incredible, making it a unique natural laboratory unlike almost anywhere else on Earth.
How isolated is it?
The lake is entirely located in the trench embedded in bedrock, and importantly, its water surface is below sea level.
Below sea level.
Yeah.
Even though it's fresh water.
Yes. The sheer weight of the overlying ice, nearly 4 kilometers thick, depresses the crust beneath it, pushing the lake surface down below sea level. Both Russian and U.S. geophysical surveys confirm the absence of any significant drainage system connecting Lake Vostok to other subglacial water bodies discovered so far.
So it doesn't flow into or out of other lakes?
No. Most other known subglacial lakes are situated above Vostok's waterline, higher up in the surrounding subglacial terrain. This points to Vostok's incredible, unparalleled physical isolation for at least 1 million years, possibly much, much longer, maybe 15 million years or more, since the ice sheet became permanent.
Wow. Imagine an ecosystem evolving in total darkness, under immense pressure, hundreds of times atmospheric pressure, completely cut off from the rest of the world's atmosphere and biosphere for that long.
It's a true time capsule, an environment unlike any other.
1 million years or more of isolation. That's almost unfathomable. It's a testament to the Earth's hidden wonders. This brings us to the Vostok drilling project.
The quest to sample the lake.
A true testament to scientific ingenuity and global collaboration, but also fraught with challenges, right? Getting to this pristine lake under all that ice without contaminating it, that was an enormous technical and ethical hurdle.
It was, and still is, an incredible international effort. primarily a collaborative Russian-French-U.S. program initiated in the early 1990s alongside the ice core climate research happening at Vostok Station.
They started drilling deep.
Yes. The main borehole, designated 5G1, reached 623 meters by 1998, incredibly close to the estimated lake surface, analyzing the ancient ice layers along the way. But the technical challenges were immense.
Like what?
Well, as we mentioned before with drilling deep holes, deep ice boreholes demand a specialized drilling fluid. At Vostok, they used a carefully balanced mixture of kerosene and freon, creating a liquid with a density around 0.91 gc-meter, just slightly less dense than ice.
And why is that fluid essential?
It's not just to lubricate the drill bit. Critically, it's needed to counteract the immense mountainous pressure from the nearly 4 kilometers of ice above. Ice, under that pressure, behaves like a very slow-moving plastic. It flows. Without the counterpressure from the fluid filling the hole, the borehole would simply squeeze shut, collapse in on itself.
Like squeezing a toothpaste tube.
Exactly. The fluid keeps it open.
And they faced significant setbacks too, didn't they? Which speaks to the difficulty of this kind of frontier science.
Oh, yes. It wasn't smooth sailing. There were drill losses, the drill assembly getting stuck or breaking down whole. One major incident happened in 1991 at about 2,500 meters, which forced them to start a deviation, essentially drilling sideways, and rename the borehole 5G1.
And it happened again later.
Yes, again in 2007, much deeper, at 668 meters, very close to the lake. The drill got stuck fast. They had to start another deviation, renaming the borehole 5G2. These setbacks cost years of effort.
But this also led to developing some truly unique, pioneering solutions, especially for exploring such a pristine environment without messing it up.
Absolutely. There was intense international environmental concern, and rightly so, about potentially contaminating this unique, isolated lake with drilling fluid or surface microbes. It led to a temporary halt in drilling in the late 90s while solutions were developed and agreed upon.
And Russia developed a special technique.
Yes, Russia developed and implemented a unique, ecologically clean drilling technology specifically for penetrating the lake. It's really quite brilliant.
How does it work?
It involves carefully controlling the drilling fluid pressure to create a slight undercompensation pressure in the borehole just above the lake. So the pressure inside the hole is deliberately kept just a tiny bit lower than the estimated pressure of the lake water beneath it.
And when the drill gets close?
When the thermal drill finally melts through the last bit of ice and breaches the lake surface, the slightly higher lake water pressure forces pristine lake water up into the bottom of the borehole.
Water comes up.
Yes, maybe tens of meters up into the borehole where it immediately freezes onto the super chilled borehole walls because the surrounding ice is at about -3 degrees C.
Creating an ice plug.
Exactly. A plug of frozen, clean lake water. This frozen lake water, the accretion ice, is then carefully re-drilled and brought to the surface for analysis in subsequent seasons. This method cleverly prevents any direct contact or contamination of the bulk lake water with the drilling fluid. It's a brilliant passive defense mechanism, using the lake's own pressure to protect itself.
That is incredibly clever. Using the lake's own pressure against the potential for contamination. Creating a self-sealing system. Ingenious.
And they added an additional safeguard just to be extra cautious at the final stage.
What was that?
A buffer fluid layer of an inert hydrophobic silicon oil. You might know the chemical as polydimethylsiloxane, or PMS. It's actually a common substance used safely in things like cosmetics and food preparation.
Why silicon oil?
The key here is hydrophobic. It repels water. It acts as a crucial non-contaminating barrier between the main drilling fluid and the lake water interface during the final penetration stage, further minimizing any chance of mixing.
Has this clean drilling technology been tested?
Yes. Importantly, this innovative technology was independently tested under full-scale conditions during a similar deep drilling project in Greenland. Those tests confirmed its effectiveness.
What did the Greenland tests show?
They confirmed that only the uppermost 10 centimeters or so of the frozen lake water core collected using this method showed any trace contamination from the borehole fluid. The deeper layers remained pristine. Plus, the perfect crystalline structure of the basal accretion ice itself acts as a natural barrier, preventing the diffusion of fluids into it. It offers inherent biological protection against contamination from the surface.
That's incredibly reassuring. They really thought through the environmental protection. So this brings us to the core of why Lake Vostok is considered such an invaluable scientific treasure chest. It's not just a cool frozen pond, is it?
Oh, far, far from it. Its scientific significance is immense on multiple levels.
Why is it so important?
Firstly, it represents potentially a unique water ecosystem isolated from the Earth's atmosphere and the surface biosphere for at least 1 million years, maybe much longer. It's a window into a lost world.
And the conditions are extreme.
Extremely extreme. High pressure, over 350 atmospheres, total permanent darkness, low nutrient levels potentially, cold temperatures near freezing point, and likely a unique gaseous and chemical composition, possibly rich in oxygen or methane trapped from the overlying ice sheet. It offers a natural laboratory for studying life under intense, multiple stressors.
Forcing us to redefine our understanding of what life can endure, perhaps.
Exactly. What are the limits of life? Vostok pushes those boundaries.
And what could we potentially learn from studying life there? What are scientists hoping to discover?
The scientific potential is enormous. Scientists hope to discover life forms that are significantly different from the forms known to modern science. Perhaps relict forms, ancient types of microbes that have been wiped out elsewhere on Earth but survived in isolation here? Or maybe finding entirely unknown evolution ways? How does life adapt and evolve over millions of years in total isolation and darkness?
So it could fundamentally change our understanding of life's development and history on Earth?
It really could, providing insights into how life adapts, thrives, and finds energy in the most challenging environments imaginable.
You also mentioned an extraterrestrial connection.
Yes, this is a huge aspect. Lake Vostok is considered one of Earth's best analogs of the oceans that is believed to exist under the thick ice shells of moons like Europa and Callisto satellites of Jupiter or Enceladus at Saturn.
So learning about Vostok helps us search for life on icy moons.
Precisely. It's a testing ground for the methods of detection and study of life under the extreme extraterrestrial conditions. If we can figure out how to find and study life safely in Vostok, we can apply those techniques and technologies to future missions searching for life beyond Earth. It helps us know what signs of life to look for and how to look for them without contaminating those potentially habitable worlds.
So it's not just about life on Earth, it's about the potential for life beyond Earth, potentially guiding our search in the cosmos. That's truly mind-blowing.
Exactly. If life can not only exist but thrive for millions of years in these conditions here on Earth, it dramatically expands our definition of a habitable zone, not just around stars, but within planets and moons themselves, far from sunlight. It's not just a lake, it could be a cosmic blueprint.
And does it tell us about Earth's past, too?
Yes, absolutely. Beyond the biology, studying the lake's water chemistry, the gases dissolved in it, and the sediments accumulated at the bottom provides integral components of the study of geological history, glaciation, and climate of Antarctica. The lake floor sediments are likely an undisturbed record stretching back millions of years, holding clues about when the ice formed, how the climate changed, and the geological evolution of the continent itself.
So big question then. Have they found any life there yet? What have the microbiological revelations from the ice core samples, the actual frozen lake water, told us?
Yes, they have found life. Studies of the congelation ice zone, the ice formed from frozen lake water accreted onto the bottom of the ice sheet just above the lake.
The stuff they drilled through before hitting the liquid water?
Exactly. Those samples have revealed a surprisingly diverse microbial population. They found evidence of hundreds, sometimes thousands, of bacterial cells per milliliter of meltwater.
What kinds of microbes?
A whole range, various shapes like cocci, spheres, and rods, filaments of actinomycetes, a type of bacteria, some yeast cells, fungal hyphae fragments, even remnants of cyanobacteria, and unicellular algae like diatoms and Coccolithophoridae.
Algae. But it's pitch black down there.
Good point. Their presence is likely due to them being trapped from the surface ice melting into the lake over millennia, rather than actively growing in the darkness. But bacteria are definitely there. Some large, rarely seen bacteria, morphologically similar to colobacteria and budding forms, were also detected. So yes, microbial life is present despite the extreme conditions and long isolation.
So life is there, potentially diverse, despite the extremes. And these ancient microbes, are they just barely surviving, like frozen seeds, or are they active?
Well, the ice core studies show incredible resilience. Research demonstrated that mesophilous forms, these are bacteria that typically thrive at moderate temperatures, not extreme cold, have actually preserved viability even after being frozen in the deep ice for tens or hundreds of thousands of years.
They can be revived after all that time.
Some can, yes. It demonstrates an incredible capacity for survival, a kind of biological pause button in the deep freeze.
What about using modern genetic techniques, looking for DNA?
That's where the real breakthroughs have happened, using advanced PCR-based methods that can detect even incredibly low amounts of DNA in the pristine lake ice samples recovered from the borehole.
And what did they find? Did they confirm native Vostok life?
Yes. After applying extremely stringent contamination controls to rule out anything introduced during drilling or handling, scientists identified DNA sequences from 3 distinct bacterial species recovered from a sample at 607 meters depth deep in the accretion ice. These passed all the tests, confirming they are true representatives of Lake Vostok's native microbiota.
And what kind of life are these bacteria related to? Are they like anything we've seen before?
This is perhaps the most exciting part. These species are related to chemolithoautotrophs and mesothermophiles.
Okay, break those down for us again. Chemolithoautotrophs.
It's a mouthful. Chemo for chemical, litho for rock, auto for self, troph for feeding. They produce their own energy not from sunlight, photosynthesis, but from chemical reactions with inorganic compounds, essentially. They're eating rocks and minerals, using chemical energy from their environment for sustenance.
Like life around deep-sea hydrothermal vents.
Exactly like that. Organisms typically found in places like hydrothermal vent areas on the ocean floor or deep in the Earth's crust, they thrive without sunlight.
And mesothermophiles. Didn't you say Vostok was near freezing?
Right, meso for middle, thermo for heat, thermophile for loving. These are organisms that typically thrive in moderate temperatures, say up to 40-60 degrees CO. Finding their relatives in Vostok ice was a surprise.
So what does that suggest? Is Lake Vostok warmer than we thought? Other hot spots?
It strongly suggests the possibility of geothermal activity at the bottom of Lake Vostok. Perhaps hydrothermal vents on the lake floor related to that tectonic rift valley setting we talked about. These vents could provide both the heat and the chemical nutrients needed to sustain a unique chemosynthetic ecosystem, independent of the sun, similar to deep-sea vent communities.
Wow. So not just life, but potentially a whole ecosystem running on geothermal energy, hidden beneath the ice.
That's the tantalizing possibility. It dramatically alters our understanding of how and where complex microbial ecosystems can exist on Earth and potentially elsewhere.
That's fascinating life that literally feeds on chemicals and heat from geological processes rather than sunlight. And what about those contamination concerns we mentioned earlier? How confident are scientists now that the life they're finding is truly from the lake itself and not from the drilling process?
It's always a critical question in this kind of research, and scientists have gone to extraordinary lengths to address it using multiple lines of evidence and control measures.
Such as?
Well, they've analyzed the drilling fluid itself. It does contain some bacteria, like a species called Sphingomonas natatoria, which is actually capable of degrading kerosene, one component of the fluid.
Okay, so there are bugs in the fluid.
Yes, but importantly, these fluid-associated bacteria are genetically distinct from those species identified in the pristine ice core samples believed to be native Vostok life. They have clear molecular differences.
So they can tell them apart.
Yes. Plus, as we discussed, the hydrophobic nature of the buffer fluid, which repels water, and the incredibly perfect, impermeable crystalline structure of the basal accretion ice layers effectively prevent the drilling fluid from diffusing deep into the ice. These act as natural biological protection against contamination from the surface reaching the lake or the deepest ice samples.
So the evidence strongly indicates they are studying native Vostok life, not contaminants.
The consensus among the researchers involved, based on rigorous analysis and controls, is yes. They are confident they are looking at genuine inhabitants of this unique subglacial environment.
What a journey we've been on. We've navigated the captivating, sometimes completely bizarre, but ultimately unfounded narratives of Nazi bases, hollow Earths, and lost ancient civilizations.
Dodging the ice pyramids and phantom U-boats?
Chuckles, exactly. And we've arrived at the breathtaking scientific realities of Antarctica. From the sheer physical implausibility of WWII U-boats reaching hidden decks, to the complete lack of historical or geological evidence for secret bases or mythical underground realms.
Our deep dive has really shown how easily compelling stories can become disconnected from verifiable facts.
Yeah, they still hold such power over our imagination, don't they?
They really do. And this whole exploration highlights the fundamental importance of critical thinking now more than ever.
How so?
No matter how compelling, how emotionally satisfying, or how widely shared a story might be, it is absolutely crucial to compare it against rigorous historical and scientific evidence. To ask, where does this claim come from? What's the actual proof?
Because the true wonders of our world
Are often found not in the tangled web of conspiracy, but in the painstaking, methodical work of discovery. Scientists and historians patiently gathering evidence, testing hypotheses, pushing the boundaries of what we thought possible. Sometimes the verifiable truth is far more extraordinary, more intricate, and ultimately more satisfying than any fiction.
Antarctica certainly proves that point. It continues to be a continent of profound secrets, not of imagined civilizations or hidden bunkers from pulp novels.
But of Earth's deep, ancient history locked in the ice cores. Secrets of unique extremophile life pushing the very definition of what life is and where it can exist. And even holding potential clues for the search for life beyond our own planet.
The real science happening there, like the exploration of Lake Vostok, is infinitely more exciting and meaningful than any Nazi UFO story.
Absolutely. It challenges us, expands our horizons. So think about this. If we have uncovered an entirely isolated, vibrant ecosystem, thriving potentially for millions of years beneath miles of ice, right here on Earth in Lake Vostok, what does this tell us about the boundless adaptability and tenacity of life? How far can it go? How strange can it be?
And what does it suggest about the universe?
What further scientific impossibilities might simply be waiting out there or even still hidden here on Earth, just waiting for our ingenuity, our technology, and our perseverance to finally bring them into the light?
Perhaps the greatest mystery is not what's hidden in the shadows of conspiracy, but what we're yet to discover through genuine exploration right under our feet or miles beneath the ice.
That's the real adventure.
That's a powerful thought to leave you with. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Antarctica secrets, both imagined and real. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep questioning.